Last time he came to my office, I asked him if you are still worshiping here. He said yes. And I thought the numbers would be large now. I can see even for evening service, it's a large number. So I can imagine a Sunday service. I'm sure you go way back there. So at some point, I was general secretary of the church. I remember there was an election between me and then somebody else. We're evenly matched. And you could imagine how very nervous I was then. Today we are talking about anxiety, right, and nervousness. On the day of the election, I beat him by one vote, I think. We were evenly matched, so any of us could have won. After that day, I never wanted to stand for any election again because I don't think I can stand elections. I really applaud politicians. Anyway, today we are going to be talking about anxiety, right? It says overcoming anxiety in examination. When I came, I saw biblical discussion on the topic, but I'm not going to do biblical discussion. I want to be more practical, right? Just to talk about how to overcome anxiety or nervousness in examination. I want to start by defining anxiety and nervousness, and then we can continue, right? So I took this directly from a book. It says, nervousness and anxiety are two very common stress responses that the majority will experience in their life. But is being nervous and anxious the same thing? And then it continues. Anxiety is a persistent state of worry. Take note. Anxiety is a persistent state of worry. Persistent. It is disruptive to daily life and can arise anytime. Nervousness, on the other hand, is a more acute stress response that directly results from a real or imagined threat. In other words, feeling nervous can subside once the situation is over. But when it comes to nervousness versus anxiety, remember that anxiety is a more continuous state of worry with psychophysiological symptoms. I'm sure the medical students understand this one. Nervousness tends to be more short-lived and symptoms tend to be milder. After reading this, I realized that I think what we should be discussing today is nervousness, not anxiety. Anxiety is too much. I can't handle that. It belongs to psychologists and mental health people and psychiatrists, etc. So what we're going to be talking about will be more of nervousness, right, than anxiety, because I can't deal with anxiety. I'm not an expert in that area. Let me start with my life experience. I came here in 2000. We'll start school in October and then finish or September and then finish the first semester in December. But our time, we came in October, so we would go home for Christmas and then come back and write exams in January, and then we would break for 1 month and then come back for the second semester. Later on, we started in August, December, and then COVID came to destroy everything. So when I came to school in 2000, you can imagine, I had come fresh. I didn't go to one of the big schools. I came to Kenya University and realized I didn't know how to learn. I didn't know how to learn. It looks like I went through SSCE by some luck, if I should put it that way. I didn't know how to learn. So when it was getting to midterm, I was scared, right? I was scared. I would be learning, and after 5 minutes, I'm feeling sleepy, and I want to go and sleep. I was really scared. Midterm. So around that time, they brought a lecturer from engineering. I mean, like I'm here today. He was in civil engineering. His name was then Mr. Emmanuel Donko, now Professor Donko, to come and talk to us here about time management. Then he was teaching me environmental science in the first semester. And then he was brought here to talk to us about time management. So I listened to him. And then after the lecture, a couple of weeks later, I went to his office. And then I just blurted out, "Sir, I'm scared of the exams." I just told him that. And then he took me as a son, a brother. He was then a young man, much younger than I am now, because he had just come. We were his first class that he was teaching. So I'm sure he was in his late 20s. So he took me as a brother, as a son, and then we became friends. Then he started, talking to me about studying, about learning, about time management, etc. Those stuff. My first semester exams was really tough. I struggled. Sometimes I go to the exams room and I'm shaking like that, right? And it's nervousness. It's not anxiety. Anxiety is something. It's more like you are not feeling well when you are that anxiety. But nervousness, it's to a certain something happening immediately. You are nervous. You can't face something that is happening in 5 minutes time, in an hour's time, in a few days time. So I was really nervous. And then he took me. We became friends. In fact, he was living in Stephen Parish, just behind Katanga. I lived in Katanga for 4 years, so it was fun then. We were not killing each other. We became friends. I would go. Then he got married a few months later. I would go to his house. The wife would cook very good food. I would eat. Later on, he moved to somewhere on campus. Whenever he was traveling, I go stay home with the wife, and then I'll eat very good home cho throughout the period. But that's how it is. Exams can be scary, especially to those who are in the first year, and to those who haven't had any experience of a university exams. It can really be scary, and it's okay to be anxious or nervous. It's normal. If you are feeling anxious right now, if you are feeling nervous because you have a paper as a first-year student, or even in the final year, it's very normal. Everybody goes through that, okay? And I'd like for us to discuss some of this. All right, and I told you I came here to learn how to learn, right? When I was young, I wasn't a bad student. I was a very good student. I'm not boasting. I was a good student. But then I lost my dad at a very young age, so somebody took me in, who became my father then. He was a missionary, so sometimes they call me a missionary's son. So after JHS, I did very well. I had 10 once in 1994. I could go to any secondary school in Ghana, but I was being raised by a missionary who had a lot of other people he was taking care of, people who were orphans like me. So he couldn't take me to boarding school. I had to go stay with somebody to go to school somewhere, because that's what he could afford. And living in that house, the woman I was staying with had a new baby. So I was like, a servant and a nanny and a student at the same time. It was quite tough for me. I went to SHS at age 13. A very young boy experiencing life outside of home and having to go through a lot of stress. I'll go to prep very late. I was a day student, but I'll go to prep. So I'll get to prep like 8 p.m. instead of 7 p.m., right? I'll go very late because I was working at home. And then after I get to prep, I open my books and I start dozing off, right? So I would sleep. That is where I rest. Prep is where I rest. So I will rest from 8 to 9. Then after prep, I'll go home and sleep again, right? So SHS, SSCE, then we call it SSCE. I went through by grace. I managed to write my exam. So I came to K University and realized I didn't know how to learn, because I would take my books and then I'll start dozing. That was my life. So you can imagine when I see my friends learning for several hours and I can't do it for 30 minutes. It was really scary. I was really nervous. That's how life, and it's very normal to be nervous, to be scared. Now, a little nervousness before a test is very normal, and sometimes it can be very, very, very helpful. Most of you would have felt very nervous before a major event in your life. And I want to take some church activities as an example. We are all in the Church of Christ. We were born into it or we have been baptized into it. So we know men lead our service, right? So let me go to the men. Is there anybody here who didn't feel nervous the first time he was asked to serve the Lord's Supper? Just serve. The men. Those who have served Lord's Supper in your local congregations before. How did you feel? The first time you were called that next Sunday you will serve the Lord's Supper. I'm sure you missed the heartbeat. It's very normal. I have gone through that before. And then on that Sunday, I'm sure you would over-prepare. You wear your best clothing and come and stand at attention, waiting for the tray, so you go and serve Lord's Supper. And you may stumble a few times because you are nervous, and it's very normal to be nervous. And that's even serving. And those who have led it before in their local congregation, the first time you were asked to lead the Lord's Supper, how did you feel? Anybody here with an experience? Anybody wants to share? The first time you were asked to, let me give a few examples, then maybe somebody might want to share. The first time you were asked to lead songs at church, either here or in your local congregation. The first time you were asked to teach a class or to preach, if any of you has ever preached in your local congregation or here, the first time you were asked to do it, I would like to hear a couple of, yes.
Okay, so when I was called to lead in songs, actually it felt kind of weird, and somehow I got to panic a bit. So I wasn't able to even sing with what the kind of voice I used to sing, but I was a bit shaky in that regard.
It's normal. That's very normal. Very honest. Very normal. Any other? One more. Leading songs, preaching, teaching, serving Lord's Supper, leading Lord's Supper. Any other example? Okay, there is none. But did you attempt to over-prepare? Because, what do you say you did? Lead songs. I'm sure you went through several of the hymn books trying to look for the best songs. Because on that day, you want to look nice to the people. You want to be seen to be doing the best you could do. You want to finish and somebody come and say, Jack, Charlie, that's how you want to do it, right? And because you want to impress, it's normal. It's normal even at church. I mean, the first time you do this, it makes you over-prepare. Feeling nervous can make you over-prepare. So sometimes it can be very good, right? It's not always bad when you feel nervous, because it helps you to over-prepare for something. If you're preparing for exams and are feeling nervous because you think it might not go well, the positive side is it should help you learn more for the exams, not less. It can have a negative effect on you, but the positive side is that it should help you to learn more for the exams and not less. If you really think you are feeling nervous and scared of the exam. I'm sure those in final year here, this is normal talk because they've seen it, 6 times already. This is their 7th time. But for first years, this can be quite scary, right? From SHS straight to this place. And then I come there and put something on the board. I leave. I let the TA come and do tutorials. And you don't know what questions are coming. Then you go and sit down and you open the thing. And then you want to faint right there in the exam room. It can be quite scary. But then, it's not just exams. It's not just students. Even us. We feel nervous sometimes. Recently, the College of Engineering advertised for research chairs in some disciplines. There was power, there was renewable energy, and then there was hydrology. So I applied for the renewable energy chair, and then I was told I had to go for an interview. Yeah, I felt nervous. I'm a professor. I've been teaching since 2007. So this is my 17th year of teaching. I've been teaching people. I've been going for conferences. But I had to go for an interview to face a panel of 4 elderly professors. I felt nervous. And in fact, this one applies to me. I over-prepared. The chair is being sponsored by VRA. I wasn't sure what questions they were going to ask. So I had to learn about study VRA's strategic plans on renewable energy, even learn the name of the CEO of VRA and their subsidiary organization. I had to learn all of them. I over-prepared for that because I was nervous. It's normal to be nervous, but it can lead to over-preparing sometimes. If you have any questions, you can ask. Like I said, this is not very biblical. We would come to some biblical text, but this is a more practical. If you have any question, raise your hand. We can discuss as I go along. When it comes to test anxiety, sometimes there can be feelings of worry and self-doubt. And this can interfere with your test-taking performance, and it can make you very miserable. Self-doubt, worry. Can I do it? What if I don't do well? If you are like me, who, when I was in school, had to impress my parents, not myself, You want your dad to know that you are one of the best in your class and not at the tail end. You have that fear. Will I do well? Will I impress my dad? Okay? I mean, you come from a family where your dad struggles to give you money to go to school. He has to struggle to give some to your siblings. And so you need to impress your dad so that he's happy paying your fees. That worry, it can flood your mind and it can make you a bit nervous and anxious. It's very normal. Now, it's worth noting that test anxiety can affect anyone. So you are not alone. It can affect anyone. Some have learned to overcome this, but then many people have gone through from their early stages to where they are now. So whether you are a primary or secondary school student, university student, or an employee, if you have to take interviews, etc., so you can advance in your career, everybody feels nervous. In this school, if you're applying for promotion, for teaching staff, we don't go through interview. We had to write a lot of papers and do a lot of work and submit a CV that is like 100 pages, and do like 15 copies. You can imagine when we are carrying them to the offices. But for the junior and senior staff, they go through an interview. And believe me, talk to any of them. If you are friends with any administrator in your department, talk to them when they are going for their interviews. They feel nervous. It's normal. Everybody feels nervous. That's what you should know. You are not alone in that. And it's important to identify when you are nervous so you can be able to overcome it. So what are some of the signs that you see to show that you are anxious or nervous? There can be excessive sweating. Excessive sweating. I don't know if any of you has been to an interview before, but imagine going to an interview. There's somebody in the room, and then you are in the outer space sitting there. It's a 17 degrees Celsius air conditioner on, but you are still sweating, right? It means you are anxious, you are nervous. There can be excessive sweating. Those are some of the signs. Number two, some people feel nauseous. They feel like vomiting. It's very normal. It means you are nervous. It means something is happening to your system. You are anticipating something, and it's there will be, for some people, there will be very rapid heartbeat. That it means you are nervous. You are nervous. Something is about to happen. Some people will develop headaches. Get to that. And then in extreme cases, some will develop panic attacks. Yeah, some people do. It will feel like you are developing a heart attack, but it's nervousness. It's anxiousness because you are anticipating what's going to happen in your exams room. I want to tell you, it's normal to feel that way, but then we can overcome it as well. There can be emotional signs as well, like self-doubt. You begin to doubt, can I do it? I don't know if you have, I don't know of the other disciplines, what you do, but if you're an engineer and you're going to write basic mechanics, you're going to write fluid mechanics or thermodynamics, you know what it is. Crunchy calculations, and then I'm sure you would have seen some questions that you can't even solve. Maybe even the day to the exam, you saw a question that you can't tackle. Meanwhile, you are supposed to be ready for those kind of questions. Can I do it? Self-doubt, insecurity, that can develop. Fear, helplessness. These are some of the emotional signs. There can be hopelessness as well. There's helplessness and hopelessness. And then there can be feelings of inadequacy. Sometimes you get angry when things are not going well. When you are not very confident of yourself, and you think you are not ready for it, and your roommate passes by and, hey, Jack, the way you throw him or her away because things are not going well, and it's normal. That I'm sure many of you have felt this. Some of these things I'm talking about, they are normal signs. You are not crazy. You are not crazy. Others feel the same way, and it's normal to feel that. And then you can have some racing thoughts going through your mind. Some of you cannot sleep. You go to bed and you are struggling because there was a day when I had some paper. I've forgotten what paper it was, but I thought, as for today, I need to really, really learn. And then I went to take some very strong Nescafe. When I was in first year, I took Nescafe to the point where at some times my hands were like this. I had to force myself and stop, I'm sure, in the second year. I took a very strong Nescafe. So I said, today I'm going to really power. Then I was standing in my room. All my roommates had left to wherever they would go to. After like 5 minutes, I started dozing, even though I had taken very strong coffee. So after 10 minutes, I realized this is futile. So I closed my book, climbed my bed. Then after like 30 minutes, the coffee kicked in. So I couldn't wake up to learn. I couldn't sleep. I was just lying on my bed and penning and sweating, and it was terrible. But so we have gone through before. I have gone through before. Now I'm a professor, and I'm very proud of where I am today, right? It means you can do it, and you can come out and be victorious, right? There are other signs. There can be difficulty concentrating. When you are nervous, you have your DYDX in front of you, and you can't see it clearly because you are nervous, right? That can happen. You start fidgeting. It's a sign that you are nervous, you are anxious. Sometimes when you are so nervous, you may even stay away from your book. You start procrastinating, avoiding the obvious. You stop learning because, sure, what can come, can come. It's a sign. It's a sign that you are nervous. And then, like I said, you can have difficulty sleeping as well. And then you could find yourself comparing you to others. If you pass by the dining hall and you see somebody who had been sitting there from 2 p.m., it's still 7 p.m., he's still sitting there. And in that 5 hours, you've just been pacing up and down. Then you start to ask yourself, am I here with this guy? Am I learning with this lady? Are we in the same class? Then you can begin to, you compare yourself to them, and then you begin to doubt yourself because he's been learning for the last 5 hours. She's been learning for the last 10 hours, and you haven't done that, right? It can be, especially when you see those you think are very smart sitting at their book, and you know you are not too smart, and you are not learning. It can be bad, right? But it is also important to know what triggers text anxiety. Once you know what triggers them, perhaps you may be able to. Now, some of these include high expectations. Like I said, you may have very high expectations of yourself. You need to impress your mom, your dad, or your brother, your sister who is taking care of you. That can make you anxious. That can make you nervous because, high expectations. The second one is, for those in second, third, final year, you have written exams before. Those in first year, these are first university exams. So, and if you, maybe engineering, if you are in mechanical engineering and Professor Forson taught you, maybe you wrote his paper last year and it didn't go well at all. And your next paper tomorrow is Professor Forson. That can, so previous test outcomes can trigger anxiety, can trigger nervousness, fear of failure, and then pressure to perform or perfectionism. Those who want to be perfect, they want to do it. Somebody goes to exams room and if he misses a dot and comes out, he wants to die because things didn't go well. So that can affect the next paper and affect the next paper and so on. So some of these could also come in. So now let's come to the second half of our. I don't even have a phone here. I don't know how long I have. What's the time now? We have 15 minutes more. Okay, all right. So how do we deal with test anxiety? How do we deal with anxiety in examination? Number one, you should get a head start. Number one, get a head start. Now, when I spoke to your preacher, I told him we should have had this earlier in the semester. Unfortunately, you had all the slots filled because you should have learned this before exam. Unfortunately, you are writing the exams now, so maybe it could help you for the rest of your papers, but also for the next semesters that you have, for those who are in first, second, third year. Start studying for your exams as early as possible. It's one sure way to overcome anxiety and nervousness. Start studying as early as possible. And I'll soon tell you what I do with my tutees. Text anxiety can be exacerbated when we feel underprepared or don't know what to expect during a test. Set yourself up for success by reaching out to your lecturers with questions creating study guides, reviewing presentations, and class notes, amongst others. This is what I do with my students, and this is what Prof. Donko made me do in the year 2000. I demand a 24-hour timetable from all my tutees, at least those who are serious enough to come and see me. I hope I don't have a tutee here. I demand a 24-hour timetable. So we have Monday to Sunday, and we have 7 a.m. to the next day, 6 a.m. And then I made you fill in your lecture hours. So if you have, let me use engineering. If you have thermodynamics, 8 to 10, you have fluid mechanics, 1 to 2, you have basic mechanics, 3 to 5. I want to see all those in your timetable, maybe in a red pen or a blue pen. Then you fill in your study time. Now, what Professor Donko taught me, which I still use for my students, for every 1 hour of lecture you have, you study for 2 hours. So if you do, let's say, basic sociology, if you have 2-hour lectures in a week, you must study it for 4 hours in a week. If you have fluid mechanics lectures, 3 hours in a week, you must study it for 6 hours. So when it comes to engineering mathematics, 4 hours in a week, it means you must study it for 8 hours. And what I tell my students, you start this from week 1. If you have done only 2 pages and you have to study it for 2 hours, study it for 2 hours. But at the end of that 2 hours, you can recall that thing at ease, right? You don't wait till week 12 when you are preparing for exams before you come trying to understand week 1. That 2 hours you have for the 1-hour lecture, you go through your notes, you go to library or wherever you find books. Now there are books all over the place, YouTube, internet, and solve questions on that topic for the period. After that week, you should understand everything about what you learned in that week if you studied for the 1-hour lecture to 2-hour study time. If you do this, you will make it. That's one sure way. Let me bet on you to do that, at least from next semester. Have a study timetable. For every 1 hour of lecture, there should be 2 hours of study. Please, let's do this from next semester. And maybe at the end of the exams next semester, I'll come back. We should have a party, a discussion, and then let's discuss how next semester's exams will compare to your previous semester's exams. I'm challenging you to do this. But beyond this, you need to stay positive. Negative thoughts can always make you feel even more nervous, even more anxious. And when you have negative thoughts, you find yourself going down the drain very quickly. So instead of saying, I should have studied more, I don't know what I'm doing, you can't say, I studied for these exams, and it's okay if I can't answer every question. I mean, you see, when we set questions, this is what we have been taught to teach. We set a question in such a way that the weakest student should be able to answer to get your 40 that you need to. The weakest student in the class. Then the next batch should be able to get a 50, and then the average student should be able to get a 60 to 65, and then starting from the very intelligent ones, they start from 70, and you can score 100. In engineering, you can score 100 easily because we don't do a lot of what is this and what is that. You are doing plenty calculations, so if it's correct, it's correct. You can score 100. That's how we set questions. We don't set questions for the weaker students to fail. The weaker students should at least get a 40 to pass. That's how we set questions. So prepare to answer every question, but if you go and you can't answer or answer those you can, to the best of your ability, and stay positive that you can't be able to do this. You may not be able to answer everything, but you should be able to answer something. You should stay positive in your mind when preparing for exams like this. Remember, now I can go to biblical discussion. Proverbs 18:21 says that life and death are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruits. So what you say, what you think about can be very powerful. The more positive it is, the more positive it drives you. The more negative it is, it sets you backwards, and it can affect you. Again, Ephesians 4:29 states that, do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouths, but only what is helpful for building others up according to their needs, that it may benefit those who listen. Now, This is important. This positive talk is important. I try to relate this to some movies some of you may have seen. You watch some movies and you see a leader trying to inspire his people to do something they cannot do under normal circumstances. Have you seen the movie Braveheart? Anybody seen Braveheart? You have seen Braveheart? Have you seen 300? 300. 300. 300. Well, 300 men fought against an army. And if you listen to their leader, he was very inspiring throughout the movie. He made them think, look, we can do it. And they were always doing it. Right? Independence Day. Who has seen Independence? That's a very old movie. Independence Day. It's a movie in which, the world was almost on its knees. And they had to send some people to space to try to rectify this. And before they left, the president gave a very powerful speech to inspire the whole world that they were going to do it. Sometimes when you watch those movies, you listen to those speeches, you develop some goosebumps, right? Yeah, those are the thoughts you must have in your mind about exams. It won't always go well, but you should have that thinking that it will go well for you, right? It will get challenging sometimes, but you should be able to do it. Now, on the more softer things, it's important to go to the exams room prepared. And so pack your bags the night before. If you have exams tomorrow, make sure this evening you have your pencil, your erasers, your pens, your rulers, everything you need for that exams, get it packed. Don't get to the exams room 15 minutes to the paper, you realize you didn't have your calculator. If you panic there, you are in trouble. Because everybody else has a single calculator. They can't lend you their calculator. If you have to run from your department to Katanga or Unity to pick your calculator, you are messed up. So make sure you pack everything well in advance. Sometimes I'm an invigilator. Well, now I don't invigilate anymore. I go around to supervise exams. But the exams rules. You are not supposed to borrow anything from your colleague, right? You all know that, right? Now you come to the room. Unfortunately, you forgot your pencil, and then you want your friend to give you a pencil, but it's not allowed. As a Christian, you are not supposed to break the rules, right? So if you ask your friend there I'm sure God will have to relax the rules. Otherwise, a lot of us won't go to heaven. You are in the exams room. You must not take a pencil from Christy. The law says that. It's very clear. It's in your handbook. It's on the notice board. But you still want to do it because you can't do your exams without a pencil because you forgot to pack your pencil. This can be very bad. So if you borrow a pencil, you have gone against the rules of the exams. You have gone against the rules of God. And there, I don't know what God will do. Now, as an invigilator, if I were, I'm not supposed to take a pencil from someone for you. If I'm trained, I was trained by a missionary, so I'm trained to give you my food even if I'm very hungry. That's how my dad trained me. Now, if I were seeing you struggling without a pencil, and I know you will fail your paper because you have to shade, I'll be tempted to pick a pencil for you. It's against the law for me to do that. If I do it as a Christian, I'm also flouting the laws of God, right? But here my missionary father's words ring in my head that I should help you. In helping you, I'm doing wrong. If I don't help you, you think I'm very wicked. If I help you, I'm flouting the rules. What should I do? You see, you shouldn't put us in that uncomfortable situation. And so get yourself ready way ahead of time so that you don't put your lecturers and your teaching assistants in those uncomfortable situations. So they can also go to heaven, right? Otherwise, they won't go to heaven. So please prepare by packing very well before the exams. And then get there early. And when you get there early, when they ask you to come in, relax and go in. Some people want to wait till the last guy has gone in. For you people, I would say it's okay. But for those who come from some of the other churches, sometimes it's the pastors who tell them to wait and go in last minute. So they will wait and make sure that the last guy has gone in before they go in. Because if you go in before the last guy, it means you won't do well in the exam. I know you guys don't do that. You don't go in late because we said don't do that. But I don't know. Sometimes you come in and they are still standing there and they are gathering. And now the way we do the thing you can't come in with your formation because we'll destroy the formation. But they still want to wait please get to the exams area early. That means you prepare very well before you go. Don't go to the exams place and 5 minutes to time, you are still holding your phone and trying to get the latest formula in town before you start your exams. That will floor you. So prepare well, and when you go to the center early, relax, and you can joke with friends and get ready. Once they call to come, step up boldly, go to the entrance and attempt to go in first. Sit down, relax, and wait for your paper. If you go to exams places late, it might affect you, right? When you go, and some people would say, well, when it's 5 minutes to time, I'm closing the door. I will prepare these others to start, then I will usher you in. Then you are standing there, you know they are starting the paper, and you can't get in. You begin to feel very nervous. It can affect you. So please go there early. And then during the test, avoid comparing yourself to others. I mean, like I said, it's normal to have difficulties when you are writing. So if you see Amma writing for the past 1 hour and not raising her head, and then you are struggling, you are you, Amma is Amma. For all you know, Amma could be writing on fire. You don't even know that. So relax. When it's going tough, relax. Sit down. Raise your head a little. Try to just, you can sing some hymns. Some of the hymns you were singing this evening. Just hum some hymn in your mind. Things will come to you. But then the worst case, remember, you can't have everything. You score 100 somewhere and score 45 somewhere. It's normal to do that. But don't go to the exam room attempting to score 45. Prepare for 100. If on the day it goes bad, it's okay. I remember one paper, Strength of Materials, Strength 2, third year, ME 355. And then I was doing last minute. I had to learn more stress circle and some horrible formulas. And then on the evening of the paper, when I wanted to power my things, power went off. And those days, generator was only at administration. So Katanga, people rushed to. I went to administration, the place was full. People went to take desk and they had occupied, there were no generators in the halls. Then I went to Katanga JCR to buy candles. The candles were finished in the room. So I went to bed. I just went to sleep. I couldn't do anything. I just went to sleep. We didn't have phones then to use your phone to. I went to sleep. Woke up like 4 a.m. Power was still not back. So around 6:30, I showered, went to sit somewhere, tried to learn my more stress circle formulas. I went to the exam room. He heard me. I mean, it's one of the worst exams I've written in my life. When I finished, I wasn't sure what would happen. Luckily for me, everybody didn't do well. So when they did the things, I got a B. Yeah, sometimes it can go very bad once in a while, but don't give up, right? You will be able to learn to be calm when it's very stormy. And after the test, make sure you thank God, because the Bible says, in everything give thanks, for this is the will of God in Christ Jesus concerning you. Remember that anxiety in the heart of man causes depression, but a good word makes it glad. This is Proverbs 12, verse 25. And I would like to conclude by saying that be anxious for nothing, but in everything, by prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, let your request be made known to God, and the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds through Christ Jesus. Thank you very much.